Welcome, welcome everyone. Welcome to the second year going of Zoom Q&As with New Jersey Film Festival filmmakers. Today we have Nora Jacobson back. She's an alumnus of our festival. We showed, I think, your very first film, Nora, Delivered Vacant, very first feature documentary anyway, back in the 90s. And it's wonderful to have you back showing your most recent film, which we'll talk about in a second. But folks, the New Jersey Film Festival will stay as a hybrid festival in the spring. The COVID variants are popping up left and right, and who knows what's going to happen in the spring. But all of the programs will be available online for 24 hours on their show date. And 5 of the screenings will be live. As of this moment, they're live. The university has agreed and let us use our wonderful space, Voorhees Hall, room 105, on the beautiful Rutgers campus in New Brunswick, New Jersey, to do 5 live screenings. And you can check out our film festival at njfilmfest.com. When you get there, just scroll down. We have a very new, slick website, which was in desperate need of overhaul. Thanks to our intern extraordinaire, Prajesh Patel. He upgraded it for us. So all you have to do is kind of scroll down to current events and click on the link that'll bounce you to our Eventive website, which has all the programs there. And at the end of the broadcast, I'll show you how to do that too. But today we also have Ashley Terer, as well as Izzy Bonvini, who are festival judges that participated in the jurying and the selection of the films we'll be screening. And we'll be doing about 40 films between January 28th and February 20th on select Friday, Saturday, and Sunday days, and the live screenings will be at 7 o'clock. So welcome Nora Jacobson, the director of Ruth Stone's Vast Library of the Female Mind, a wonderful documentary on the amazing poet Ruth Stone, who passed away back in 2011. But this is a kind of documentary that tells people about this wonderful poet, feminist, and as well as just talented overall, wonderful person. How did you get involved in making this film, Nora?
Well, first of all, I just am so gratified that you appreciate the film and Ruth. As the film shows you, and a lot of people don't know who she is or was and don't know her work, even poets, which is part of why I wanted to make this film. So in 2009, I was asked by a poet, Chard Denyord, to shoot an interview about Ruth for a collection he was doing of elder poets. She was already, 94 at the time, because he thought that she sort of had a wonderful presence on camera. So actually, I got involved through a gig. Like, he paid me to come and do an interview with her. And I just fell in love with her and decided at that point that I wanted to actually make a film about her, not just, shoot an interview for someone else, but actually make my own film about her. So that's how it started.
And I found that I had connections to Ruth, even though I actually had an autographed copy of in the gallery, which I just picked up at a rummage sale, and it was like, wow. And my wife's big into poetry, so I thought she would like it too. So I kind of knew about Ruth a little bit before seeing your documentary. And also I went to Binghamton, SUNY Binghamton, which is now called Binghamton University. But I was there, I think, before Ruth was there. So there is a little bit of a connection. So I said, wow, she was a tenured professor at Binghamton. So I was very pleased to see that. But I guess one of the things that I liked about your film was it's almost a kind of collage where you were able to use pre-existing footage, which I don't really know if, let me see if I can remember, Sidney Walensky's film. He must have been a Binghamton student, maybe?
No, he went to Brandeis.
Oh, to Brandeis.
He took a poetry class with Ruth at Brandeis and sort of fell in love with her like everyone did. And then when he went on to graduate school at San Francisco State, I can't remember, a school, San Francisco State University, I think, to get a graduate degree in filmmaking, he decided to do his thesis on Ruth. And that's when he went to Goshen, Vermont, and spent a week filming her. in 73, I think.
Did his film was it ever finished and released?
Yes, it ended up being a 14-minute film
Oh,
called The Excuse. And yeah, he got some play, you know, I know it got into some film festivals. I think it was at the Margaret Mead Film Festival.
mm,
Um, but it was very short. And he had been there, he'd spent a week with her. So he had collected a lot of footage. He went, as it says in the film, you know, with his cameraman and sound person, and they shot for a whole week. And then that footage got left in a lab somewhere. They cut the A and B rolls,
mm.
and the A and B rolls, unfortunately, and the footage associated with the A and B rolls were lost. I mean, obviously the lab in California just dumped, you know, ended up in a dumpster, which has happened to so many filmmakers, actually. And the only footage that was left was footage that he hadn't touched, the roles that he hadn't dug into for his 14-minute film. Thank God. So that when I go and visit him in Santa Monica and we go into his garage, those cans are that negative. Fortunately, he had all the sound. He had all the 1/4-inch reels.
Wow.
So we digitized all the 1/4-inch reels and what we could of the film. And then I did use some of the material, a little bit of the material from the actual answer print, because it was just great. I mean, so it's sort of a combination of mostly footage that he didn't use, and then a few little select pieces from his film, actually.
Yeah,
And then audio.
It's amazing. It's 16, so it really looks nice too. It kind of it fits with it has that grainy look, and it's really wonderful to have. And in addition to Bianca Stone, Ruth's granddaughter's animation, and the archival footage as from other sources, and the current interviews, really gives the film a very hand-hewn, quilty type of feel, and I really enjoyed that, and I thought you brought it all together magnificently, and that it was like one of the first films we accepted as that we knew we were going to show. And anyway, let the other gals talk too. So Izzy, tell us what you would like to ask Nora.
Okay, so I mean, it goes along with the title of the film. Ruth's poetry and her career were really marked by her womanhood, which unfortunately did hold her back in many ways, career-wise. So was this film kind of an attempt to reconcile that and to like give her some of the recognition that she might have missed out on?
Absolutely. I want the film to tell people about her and her poetry. And it's still going to be a challenge. You know, it's interesting. A guy, Jeffrey Winter, you must know him, Al. He runs the film collaborative, Filmmakers Collaborative. And I showed the film to him, and he was complimentary, but he didn't want to distribute it. And he said, you know, your Ruth's story, here she is, this obscure poet in Vermont, this poor, obscure poet in Vermont. And basically, by making a film about her, you are relegating yourself to the same category.
Oh gosh.
So, you know, it's like me making a film about a poor, obscure Vermont poet means that I am a poor Vermont obscure filmmaker. It's sort of what I found interesting about the comment. It's sort of conflating the filmmaker with the subject. I mean, maybe he has a point. Certainly, yeah.
He has no point, Nora. It's completely idiotic, and I think it echoes what Ruth had to go through with the kind of phallocentric view of poetry as this old boys club that she was excluded from for all intents and purposes. And that's what I think I loved about your film, and I'm glad Izzy brought up this angle, because she didn't want to have anything to do with that.
Yeah, no, she was so, you know, she did not kowtow to anyone. She didn't suffer fools. And that that is probably one of the reasons too. She didn't suck up to anyone.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I do hope the film can reach more people. I'm going to do my best. It's always hard as a filmmaker when you finish a film, you're chomping at the bit to move on to another project.
Yeah.
And I certainly am working on other projects, but unlike many of my other films, I really am committed to trying to getting this film out. Try not to use the word try, but getting it out. And so we're starting to do that. And there are people who appreciate it. I mean, documentary filmmakers, it's hard for documentary filmmakers these days because there's such an emphasis on celebrity and hot topics. And if you're not making a film about a celebrity or a hot topic, then it's really hard to get the world at large to look at your work, to even look at it.
That's very sad, I must say.
Yeah.
Ashley, please jump in.
So the house was super modest, but it was so full of memories. And the outside property was gorgeous too. So I was wondering if there was like a favorite thing that you had about being on the property or being in the house.
Let's see. Yes, well, there were two porches. There's a front porch and a back porch, and I filmed on both of them. I filmed Ruth on the front porch quite a bit, and then Bianca and Anna on the back porch, the two younger poets sitting on the bed talking. What else did I love? I loved the backyard I love the shagginess of it, and yet so sort of like the unkempt but beautiful aspect of it. It's not like a French garden with, manicured lawns, and it's more like a wild maybe English garden. I don't know. There's a wildness to it. So I guess that's what I like about it.
Very much a reflection of Ruth in many ways.
Yeah.
And the fact that she's buried there. And I was so happy to read that Bianca has set up a foundation to preserve the site and make it a retreat for writers. I wonder if if that's moving forward or how far along that is, if you know anything about it.
Well, you saw in the last scene of the film.
Yeah.
That was the first gathering.
So it is taking place.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And it has been secured as a national site, right?
You saw the
site.
It's got its roadside marker.
Mm-hmm.
Now COVID really interfered with them moving forward a lot. So they've done more workshops last summer they did a workshop up the road, I think. They're still raising money to finish the renovation.
Right.
So, because in that last scene when the poets arrive, you saw, the house still isn't quite finished, but you do see that I hope you noticed that it had been fixed somewhat.
Yeah.
And I hope you realized that last scene was the first step in making a writer's center.
I presumed as much. I just wasn't sure how far along. When I went to the foundation site, it seemed as if things were still progressing forward, and I didn't know how solidified the foundation of all that was. And it seems as if it has been, so that's great.
Oh, yeah. They have a 501c3, and they're doing fundraisers and doing poetry workshops, and not necessarily at the house, but under the auspices of the organization.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Izzy, one more from you. We have time for a few more from you guys. Please jump in.
So we kind of briefly touched on this earlier, but Bianca was Ruth's granddaughter, and she did the animation for your film, which I thought was really incredible. So I was just wondering how that process got started, when you started to collaborate with her, and just what it was like being able to work with her.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know that she was a graphic artist until I saw that she had written a book, created a book called Poetry Comics. I knew she was a poet.
Mm.
She went to, yeah, she's a published poet.
Mm.
So when I saw Poetry Comics, I thought, oh, I wonder if she would do animation for the film, even though maybe she doesn't do animation. I know she draws. And I think it was probably in 2016 or 17 that I first approached her. I filmed her walking around the house in 2014. And I can't remember now if I had asked her yet to do the animation. I knew at that point in 2014 that I wanted to use the house as a structural device in the film because it was so important to Ruth. I might not have known yet about the animation, about her other skills, and I hadn't gotten the footage from Sydney yet. It was a process because I was very concerned about how to make a film about a poet. And so I was looking for all these ways to visualize not her poetry, but the story. So so sort of at the same time, oh, I wonder if I could use animation to illuminate aspects of Ruth's life. I wonder if I can get this footage from Sidney Walensky that they had told me about him. And then when I found out that they were renovating the house, then I thought, oh, wow, that would be like the perfect way to complete the film, that after all of this life led in the house and out, and the importance of the house, now the house is going to serve the continuation of poetry from other people, sort of foster new poets.
Yeah. But I find amazing that this process took a decade for you to kind of have the whole thing come together, and it little bits at a time. And I think that's what's the thing that I always tell my students. They have this thing called Campus Movie Fest where you can make a movie in 24 hours or whatever it is. That those movies, the ones that usually win are the ones where the filmmakers realize they need to work on it for an entire year to make it halfway decent. And when you live and breathe a project for so long, it shows in the movie. And it really does show in your documentary. I mean, the fact that you kind of lived through Ruth and the images that came with it and the sounds and her poetry, and you were able to kind of infuse it in yourself and then present it in this very magnificent way where, I cried when I watched the film. I felt, sorrow for her during the tragic moments that are recounted in the film. I mean, her second husband, who seemed like a really wonderful guy, ends his own life, and then she has to deal with that. You feel that it's emotive in what you see in the film, and I think, as a filmmaker, you want people to feel when you're watching a movie. So, the applause is loud from this side of the world. I mean, you did a masterful job, and I think that's the beauty of when you're making a film. That's what you want. An audience to kind of get into the person's mind, into her shoes, and you do that so great. I really applaud you. Anyway, Ashley, go ahead.
So there's this wonderful sequence in your film where Bianca and the family are reciting a poem with Ruth. And I can't imagine how wonderful it was being in that room and the atmosphere as they're reading it back. So I was wondering if there was any point in your filmmaking process where you just had the most amount of joy, just like being around them, or any other point in the process.
Well, yes, that day when it was Ruth's birthday, her 94th or 5th birthday, 94th. And yeah, I mean, I spent the whole day with them. And when they started reciting, they started reciting that poem together, that's right at the beginning of the film. Yeah, it was amazing. I knew it was an amazing moment. And I'm glad at that point, I was shooting a lot. And so, I was happy with the way it came out. And I just remember, slowly panning the camera over to her beating her hand on, no, that was maybe during the tree. Anyway, I can't remember, but there are two poems that are in the film where the granddaughters are there with her. But at one point she beats her hand on Bianca's knee, and her father had been a drummer, actually. So I didn't put that into the film, but I did think about that when I saw that hand going like that. I think those moments are my favorite moments. I'm trying to think. Yeah, because it shows across the generations, you know. I also love when when Ruth's two daughters, Phoebe and Marcia, are sitting with Ruth, and and Ruth says, "Oh, my daughters think the most amazing things about me," and then Marcia says, "Well, we actually don't like you very much. It's your work we like." But they all laugh, and then they all put their arms around her, so you know that they love her. You know that. So
guiding her.
yeah, I mean, it's yeah. So it's I like those moments of. Oh, I also like it when people address me in the camera. Like there's that funny moment with the editor, who I won't give it away, but he sort of speaks sternly to me in the middle of the film. I like those moments of breaking that wall of, you know, the filmmaker and the subjects.
I also liked when they kind of, I mean, Ruth remembered all of her poems and the way that she could recite them, you know, 50 years later, and the way that the kids would start and then you would cut to her and then cut back to the grandkids and then to the daughters. So there's a real nice threading. That's why I called it kind of a quilt, because I thought that you've knitted together these various aspects of the film into a very tight documentary. And I think, you know, the audience will really appreciate this film anyway, I really should tell people more about when they could see this film. We're going to be screening it on opening weekend, which is, we're going to be screening it on Saturday, January 29th at 7 p.m. live, because Ruth is kind enough to come down from Vermont to do a Q&A live with the audience. This is for people who are not going to be able to come, so that they'll be able to get access to Nora this way. I said Ruth, I meant Nora. You see, you've infused yourself with Ruth Stone. Anyway, so the project the film will be shown on the 29th of January at 7 o'clock in Voorhees Hall, room 105 on the Rutgers University campus. General admission is $15. I know it's a lot of money, but we've been battered by COVID. So we raised our rates a little bit, but folks can also watch it online. So a lot of people, what they did in the fall, they'd watch the movie during the day, then they'd come and watch it again. I swear to God, there was one fellow who did this, and he would want to see it on the big screen with an audience. So you can catch it live, you can catch it online. You'll have the added benefit of having Nora there. She'll introduce the film and do a Q&A afterward. And let me show folks how you can get access to this thing.
And I should say that I hope that Bianca and maybe someone else from the film will be, I hope.
That would be terrific. That would be awesome. All right, let me share screen, share it now. Computers, all right, this is not what you wanted to see. If you hit njfilmfest.com, which is on this placard behind me, njfilmfest.com, this is the nice splashy new website that Prajesh did. If you look in the background, it says Voorhees Hall. That's what our screening space building looks like. And then you just kind of scroll down and you go to where it says view schedule by tickets. You click on that. And then that will take you, hopefully, sometime soon, to our catalog page. And so you can see that Nora's film is right here. You would just kind of hover on the picture and then go to pre-order now. You click on that, and then you'll be able to check out and buy tickets. You can also go back to the festival site and you can get an overview on our welcome page. And then you can click on schedule to get a kind of linear version of the festival with big pictures and descriptions of all the movies if you want to see it that way. You want to see individual films, you click on the film guide, and you work your way down, and you can see that, where's Ruth Stone? It's taking a little while to boot up on my computer today, but everything is there. You can also click on select a showing to buy tickets too. So anyway, I really want to thank you, Nora, for joining us, as well as Izzy and Ashley for asking really scintillating questions, as usual. And again, you can check out the film at the New Jersey Film Festival Spring 2022 edition, which is a part of our 40th anniversary celebration. I didn't know if you knew that, Nora. We've been doing this for that long. At least I have. I founded this thing back in 1982, and it's grown into this monster. It was just basically a revival program back in the 80s when we showed on film to the college audience. Now we show all over, and we get people from all over the world checking out our screenings. So, but I want to thank you all for being part of this Q&A, and I hope you'll join us for the live screening on January 29th. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Al and Izzy and Ashley. I really appreciate your questions. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, bye.